Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a closer look into the world of Somkiat Saelek. He's a visual artist, a painter based over in London, Ontario.
Right, and we're drawing from some really interesting podcast excerpts where he talks about his art, his whole journey.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to understand how he blends, his quite extensive digital media background with this really deep emotional connection to nature, especially in his Skydiary series.
Yeah, that series is fascinating, and we want to figure out what makes his view, his perspective, feel so insightful, so unique.
Okay, so maybe start with his background. It's quite a shift, isn't it?
It really is. You've got, over 16 years in digital media, very structured work, presumably, and then this deliberate move into painting. And nature, specifically the sky, just keeps coming up.
He calls it a silent storyteller.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that phrase alone kind of changes how you think about the sky, doesn't it? Something we see every single day.
Totally. And that idea, the sky as a narrator, it leads right into this Skydiary thing, which sounds like it's more than just, painting pretty clouds.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a personal log, almost. Capturing moments, but translating the colors, the textures, into reflections of his own feelings.
Meditative, atmospheric, deeply human. Those are some descriptions I saw.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you think, right? This huge thing above us, the sky. Could it actually be mirroring our own stuff back at us, our emotions?
Well, and the way Skydiary started is interesting, too. Apparently, it wasn't some big planned project.
Oh. How did it begin then?
It sort of happened by accident. He was just taking personal photos of the sky on walks, not really for art initially. But then they started to, inspire these paintings he calls emotional landscapes.
So not literal copies of the photos, more about the feeling.
Precisely. Less about this is exactly what the cloud looked like, and more this is how that sky felt in that moment.
That makes sense. The sky changes constantly, right? Just like,
Yeah.
just like human emotions often do. There's a kind of parallel there.
Yeah, a powerful one. In his actual process, how he makes the art seems quite layered, too.
Right. He said sometimes it starts with a photo, like an anchor point, maybe.
But other times it's just from memory.
Yeah.
Like the feeling of a sky he saw before sort of lingering.
That suggests he's really absorbing what he sees, like, deeply.
It seems like it. And he talks about sketching in silence, often really early in the morning, which points to this very deliberate, maybe even mindful way of engaging with it all before the paint even comes out.
Capturing an essence, maybe, more than just the visual details?
I think so. And then there's how he chooses his materials.
Watercolors, acrylics, mixed media.
Yeah, and he says he picks based on what feels right for the specific emotion, the specific landscape he's trying to get across.
So quite intuitive, not just sticking to one technique.
Very intuitive, yeah. That seems key to his whole approach. And when he talks about color and light, he compares them to music. Says he's focused on resonance, not just, strict realism.
Resonance.
Yeah.
Like hitting an emotional note.
Exactly. It's not about a perfect photo-like copy. It's about making the viewer feel something. It really makes you consider how often we glance at the sky but don't really connect with it emotionally.
Now let's think about where he is. London, Ontario. Does that play a role?
Seems like it does.
Yeah.
He mentions a strong creative community there, diverse too, and of course lots of nature around.
Right. And the changing seasons, you've got to imagine those find their way into the Skydiary paintings, different light, different colors all the time.
Absolutely. A constantly shifting palette provided by nature itself. And it's worth remembering his studies, too, at Fanshawe College in pre-media.
Ah, right. How does that fit in?
Well, he mentioned that period actually helped him reconnect with art personally after working in digital production back in Thailand.
So it's like a full circle. The digital background isn't separate. It kind of informs the painting.
Possibly in subtle ways. Maybe a sensitivity to color gradients, composition, things honed in digital work that now translate to the canvas, to these nuanced skies.
And that move, that big life change from Bangkok, which is just bustling, right, to London, Ontario, which is presumably calmer.
That had to have a huge impact on his art, his way of seeing.
He talks about noticing differences in light. Yeah. And even the quality of silence.
Yeah, the silence.
Wow.
That's fascinating. That cross-cultural experience feels really central to understanding his work. He talks about exploring contrasts like east and west, noise versus stillness, even structure versus fluidity.
So it's not just about looking up at the sky.
No, it's about looking at the world and himself in it through this lens shaped by these really different life experiences.
Maybe the fleeting nature of digital stuff he used to work with contrasts now with wanting to capture something as fleeting as the sky but make it tangible.
That's a really interesting thought. Yeah.
Okay, so if we try to kind of pull this all together, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, it feels like Somkiat's art is really about a kind of listening.
Listening. How so?
Listening to the world outside those silent stories in the sky. But also listening internally to his own emotions.
Right. And he hopes the paintings offer that to us, the viewers.
Yeah, that's what he seems to suggest. A moment of quiet, maybe.
Yeah.
A connection, perhaps seeing our own feelings reflected up there.
And for you listening, especially if you like those aha moments.
Right. His journey itself is quite something. From digital media, all structured, to these very fluid, very emotional paintings of the sky. It's a great reminder that our paths aren't always, straight lines. Sometimes the unexpected shifts lead to really profound work. Makes you think about what shapes our own views.
So wrapping up this deep dive, Somkiat Saelek's Skydiary really does offer this unique way of seeing the sky. Not just background, but a canvas for feeling.
Yeah. And his blend of digital experience, traditional painting, and that global perspective, it results in art that really asks you to stop and think, to connect.
We hope this look at his work gives you maybe a fresh perspective on just looking up.
That everyday thing, the sky, becomes through his art a source of, potential understanding, both artistic and emotional.
It really highlights how we can find meaning in the ordinary stuff around us.
Definitely.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about the skies you've seen, maybe just today or this week. If you really paused, looked at the colors, the light, what stories, what feelings might be held there, could that ordinary sky actually be a source of some unexpected personal insight for you?